two big nominations for this movie at this year's Academy Awards: Best Picture and Best Adapted Screenplay. Let's talk about Women Talking. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my spoiler-free review for the new film Women Talking. This is in theaters in select cities right now as we lead up to the Oscars here. And obviously, like I mentioned, two big nominations for this movie. One in the screenplay category of Best Adapted, and then one in Best Picture. And it's got some powerhouse actors involved as well. Frances McDormand, who has a couple of Oscars under her belt. Is she up to 3 now or 2? She's certainly become one of the big Oscar winners of late. But Rooney Mara is here as well. Claire Foy, Jessie Buckley, Judith Ivey. And there's a man here as well, Ben Whishaw, and we'll sort of get to his story in the movie in a moment here. But before we get to any of that, I want to welcome you into Dan Reviews It. Thank you for finding this video. I've been reviewing a lot of the Oscar movies lately. I review, a lot of other movies too. But if you are an Oscar fan, or awards watcher, you can follow along with a lot of those reviews here on my channel. I think I only have maybe 5 or 6 more to go of the major award nominations that I have not reviewed yet. So kind of knocking them out 1 or 2 a week until the big night. But let's get to this review. So Women Talking is based on a 2018 novel of the same name, which is why it is in the Best Adapted Screenplay category. But it's all based, the movie and the book, based on this real-life thing that took place in a Mennonite community in this very, very isolated area. And essentially, this is a discussion film. It takes place over a short period of time, and it's sort of like 12 Angry Men in some ways, one of my favorites, in which people are discussing, well, in this case, their own fate. In 12 Angry Men, it was the fate of someone else in a courtroom. But essentially, the women in this community, at least many of them, have been sexually abused, assaulted, and raped by some of the higher-ups in the men's part of the commune. And what do we do about this? Well, they went to some of the other people in the community and brought up their concerns, and were basically told, well, you have to apologize to the men. So this movie basically takes place after all that, and the women are deciding what to do. And on the poster, it gives us actually the 3 options, which is do nothing, stay and fight, or leave and basically start fresh. So the Ben Whishaw character, he is a school teacher, and he has been sort of left there with those women as sort of a silent person to be involved, but to write up, sort of the pros and cons and write up the minutes of the discussions and all of that. But for the most part, he's the only man in the whole movie. I mean, there's a few, like, in flashbacks and stuff that we hear, like, from afar. I don't even know if we see anybody else's face that's a man. So, very, very female-centric. And this was directed and written by Sarah Polley, who has become a very, very interesting director. This is only her 4th film. She did a great documentary about sort of her own family history called Stories We Tell in 2012. That did not get nominated for an Academy Award for Best Documentary Feature, but there was a lot of talk that it might be up for an award. I loved that movie. She also directed, I don't know if she wrote it too, but there's a great movie called Away From Her from the mid-2000s that is about an old couple, and one of them has started suffering from dementia, and it was very heartbreaking, very, very moving. So yeah, she's got, it's an interesting viewpoint, and she takes her time with these projects. I mean, the last movie she does some short films and stuff too in the meantime, but the last full-on feature she did was 2012's Stories We Tell. So it's been a while. The cast here is great. Obviously, I think that kind of goes without saying, especially with, a lot of the names I mentioned. The question mark here is Ben Whishaw. I'm unsure, and I saw this movie now 5 or 6 days ago, and I'm still unsure how I feel about his character, because they play him off, and he plays himself off, I guess, as obviously he's a school teacher, so he's smart, but he seems a bit dim, to be honest. And not even just compared to the women, but just in general. And I want to say that that was a conscious choice to sort of speak about, okay, in these Mennonite communities or other communities like that, we can rise, a man of average intelligence, let's say, or less than, can rise up and be some sort of authority figure here, where the women have to be, sort of silent and take their punishments and etc. I'm sure that was a conscious choice by Sarah Polley. I'm just not sure how well it worked. And so I sort of go between like Ben Wishaw's performance was really good to like, oh, he's doing some things I really don't understand, how this sort of fits in with the rest of the cast who are kind of acting, circles around him. But I liked his character, so it was a little bit of a tough sell for me, I think, with his performance. And I think how he was written, but the character on the whole I liked, but there were some nuances there I was like, not sure how I feel about that. The other thing is, this movie has an odd sense of humor. There are definitely some parts where the women are talking amongst themselves, and one of them will start laughing about something, and I'm the kind of person that I like to laugh through some tragedy for sure. But I don't know how well that sort of played out on the screen. I understand that yes, some of the people will react in such a way, but they were almost like vilifying the one woman for smoking, when it's like, that seems like the most innocuous thing to do when we're talking about these really heavy topics. Like, she's just trying to get through like everybody else, and they're sort of crucifying her. But then she's also, would be one of the ones that would start laughing or something at odd moments, and then they would jump on her for that too. And she wasn't the only character though that did that. But yeah, I'm not sure how that really played out. Like, when I think about 12 Angry Men, there weren't like a bunch of laughs in that movie, and it's brilliantly executed in every way, shape, and form. It's one of the best movies. So I don't know. Maybe we're taking some cues from that in tone and in theme, but this took some odd shifts that I still, almost a week after watching it, I'm not positive how I felt about. So, look, this is worth watching for sure, but I do think it's one of those movies that in a year, before about a decade ago, or maybe 15 years ago now, we only had 5 Best Picture nominees for the longest time, my whole life, really. Back in the 40s and 50s, they would have 10 or 12 nominees or whatever, but then for a while it was only 5. And this is one of those movies that I think if it were only 5 nominees, once again, this would never even be in the conversation for Best Picture. It got no acting nominations. It got no other nominations except for that screenplay. So I don't think it has a chance at the Best Picture statue. I think there's a slight chance probably in the adapted screenplay category. Knives Out, though, could be a sentimental favorite there, since people do love that series. But, its only shot, I think, really is in that screenplay category. Best Picture, I think, is pretty much out of the question. But, look, interesting enough, obviously, to be asked to the dance anyway. So I will leave Women Talking with a B+. Frances McDormand, it goes without saying, steals the show. I think that's pretty obvious. All right, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on Dan Reviews It. Bye.